you guys mind if I ask the first question, just to break the ice? Can I, since I'm running, I think there's a line from Clerks that's like, I believe in a ruling class as long as I rule. I choose myself. No, but Brian, I'm reminded that we did an OMSI Real Science maybe 4 years ago, was it? Do you remember at the, it was at the Crystal Ballroom.
Oh, yes.
This was Cardboard Castle,
Yes.
Lane, and everybody was up on stage.
Very
Yeah, this is very cool because since then you've broken off, you've started your own, you've started an old massive and now taking on maximally massive jobs. This is all coming out of Global Crew, and you were a big part of it. I just want to ask you how things have kind of changed, because it's the everything totally reinvents itself, and we were just talking about that when we were having a drink beforehand, where renderers are changing and we're constantly updating and everything. Rendered on 12 graphics cards.
Yes.
Even at Cardboard, it was a rack of, correct me if I'm wrong, like maybe 10.
18.
Like, yeah, 18 machines, and just churning all the time, and sometimes
Yes.
some cloud rendering and stuff. Can you talk about just like how ripe it is now for somebody to be in this position that you're in, where you're able to start your own shop and technically overcome these hurdles that make work like this possible on a level that you're at?
Yeah. Roughly, when we were at Cardboard Castle, we had roughly $100,000 worth of render farm equipment that was at our disposal, and we basically churned renders every single night. There was kind of a weird mantra of like, if it doesn't take an hour, it doesn't look good enough. And I can't imagine being back in that space anymore. I mean, I have 4 graphics cards in my machine. Blaine has 4 in his. We have a handful of other machines that have between 2 and 4 in the office, and my computer was not cheap by any means, but it certainly was not $100,000, and the amount of content that you can kick out and the quality of the content, even just in the last 5 years, excuse me, has really exploded. It just like something like Redshift for Render Engine just kind of blew the roof off of all of that. I mean, there's no the idea of having to go back to an hour frame. And certainly we still have spots every now and then that are an hour, 2 hours a frame, but they are few and far between, for sure.
Yeah. Redshift, Octane, even the Unreal engines and stuff. That's maybe the next tier.
Yeah.
That's a different discussion, but it's really, really advancing. And also, I thought a big thing with this was how you offloaded as much as you could into comp. That's compositing, being the last step in the process is where you can work really quickly and make adjustments and do things. And I'm always jealous when I'm a compositor, but I'm traditionally on the live action side. So I watch, those CG only shot. I have a ringside seat where I'm usually working on the footage that's come in, and I'm wrestling with green screens and stuff. The person next to me is always working on a full CG shot, and it's always Thanos on Thanos' planet. And there's swirling, just smoke storms and sandstorms and stuff. And I'm just amazed at how much control you guys have if you just set yourself up correctly. And you did on this, and it's very cool to see. Awesome to see some of the demystification of what all is going on under the hood. Can I open it up to everybody? This is a question and answer for Brian before we bring Larry up and do the big SIGGRAPH show. Does anybody have any questions on what we just saw? Is that Skylar? Okay. Yeah. Spotlight. Can I bring you a mic real quick? Let me.
Sure. I can move my voice.
Projection.
Hey, thanks, Jay. So just a question on never really seen the world pass there. How is that different than just a standard sort of depth map, getting and using that and extracting that information?
Yeah, so the world position pass, like I said, if you look in the so it's something that Fusion does by default, but Fusion is kind of painful to work in. So some very enterprising person, I think their name is up here on this little gizmo. We downloaded this gizmo off of Nukipedia. So basically you just pick a color sample, like in this case, this bottom left, you can see what it looks like. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if you can see the samples, but The alpha channel that it produces is this image here, the bottom right. And so it differs in that it's similar, but it's more precise in that if you have a moving camera, if you want to pin a mask to the forehead of this queen alien, you can do, there's world position and object position, and you can do, you just sample a color and it will just, the mask will just follow that RGB value. So you don't have to animate anything anymore. And it's really helpful for things like grading certain channels, and it's huge.
Yeah, got it, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So more world space versus like a camera space, yeah. Any other questions popped up as we watched all this stuff? I could think of a couple more. So I'm just curious, the thing that struck me is that first slide when you pop, and it's South Africa, and it's LA, and it's people positioned all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the new normal. I mean, it's heading in that direction anyway. I think you guys maybe could be leading the charge in Portland as a nimble shop, the size that you are. How did it work with, what did you use to kind of communicate, and what was the pipeline there?
So we used Discord for all of our immediate communications. That was all. We had different channels set up for different people. So working with the character animator versus working with effects versus the director, and then we had kind of a global group chat where we were constantly throwing look development frames and things like that. Everybody's commenting on it. It was actually a really cool experience to get, this talented artist in Amsterdam to comment on your look development. And it was really, really cool. And then we just used Dropbox to sync everything. On our side, we ended up transferring everything over out of Dropbox up to our actual server so that we could all communicate. But in that way, it wasn't as taxing on all of our local machines, but it was still, anytime we delivered something, it was back up to Dropbox, goes out to everybody on the team. They get their notifications, and we didn't have, I can't think of a single issue we had with that stuff. Some of the Alembic workflow coming from South Africa on like the effects shots, those were pretty big. Those took a little while, but other than that, it was all the things that could have gone wrong. This was a smooth production. It was kind of surprisingly smooth because it definitely was had the potential to be fraught with computer issues.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm reminded that you had Chris here locally.
Yes.
You had an animator you're working kind of hand in hand. And
which he got to sit at home and animate. So
yeah,
it was awesome.
Which is amazing. We do have that in Portland. We do have that kind of rich. There's the dates back to Vinton. I should flag that. It's really Will Vinton's legacy and the kind of ecosphere that's bloomed off of that. But yeah, you had Chris. My shop's first project, we had 18 people working, and 8 of them were from Leica moonlighting. You need that top talent every once in a while, and
Yeah.
very cool that you kind of had a mix of both. The only other thing I can think of asking, maybe a good one to wrap up on, was kind of what was your favorite part of the process? I mean,
Working on characters, we don't, at our shop, we do largely commercial work. Well, it's pretty much all commercial work, but we do product-based stuff. So we do a lot of shoes. We do a lot of electronics. We do not do a lot of character work. And this was definitely breaking the mold for us. And that was a really fun opportunity to get in and do some fun skin development, shader development, lighting. We've never gotten to do a full, cityscape or anything like that, and being able to know that our tools, compared to an ILM, it's not ILM quality, but you know what I mean? Like, just in our little office on a handful of computers, we were able to push out 90 seconds of content in a couple months, and it's awesome. Like, that's such a great place what a wonderful time for us to be living in as artists in this industry,
Yeah, and it just keeps moving forward. I hope the next time you're up here, it's even more
so too.
ridiculously amazing, and you know you can continue to do more with less. I think that was kind of the theme of when we just had a beer not long ago.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just kind of like it's amazing how wide the scope has gotten. I don't want to say you should actually we were talking about a generalist and how Brian basically handled, you know, much of this himself as a generalist, and your lighting and your comping and you're bringing everything at the end, and how wide the scope has gotten, and how you're just constantly learning. Do you want to talk about?
It's a little bit of a rant, but I'm happy to talk about it. You know, it's just kind of as a generalist. When I started freelancing about 4 or 5 years ago, when we left Cardboard Castle. You know, I was in Cinema 4D, and I did not want to buy any plugins. So I was like, I'll just learn Houdini, because everything that I wanted, all the plugins that I want to buy for Cinema 4D, I can do with Houdini and do it better. And I was like, and that's $200 a year, you know, it's brilliant. But as you start, like, I don't know, the kind of my rant, I guess, that we were talking about is that the expectation as a generalist is that now you are in Houdini and you're in cinema and you're doing some comp work, and the scope kind of keeps getting wider and wider, and that's exciting if you do want to go home after sitting in front of a screen all day and sit on a laptop and do more learning, which is what I used to do, but I'm finding myself now more and more wanting to just be home and hang out with my kids. And so it is becoming this like weird thing where the scope of your knowledge needs to continue to increase, but budgets keep going like this. So it's kind of this weird, trying to find the happy balance for sure. And yeah, but this was a really excellent exercise for us as a small studio to jump in and do. I mean, this was premiered at E3, and it was internationally streamed, and it was fun. It was a blast.
Yeah, and hopefully your name all over it, and just Portland,
Not yet.
Portland,
Hopefully.
Yeah, you hope, right? No, amazing work, and thank you for the great
absolutely.
presentation.
Thank you.
One last round of applause for Brian.